Now today I got some new content. I was able to interview one of my best friends who got his start in quality assurance, worked his way up to a level designer, and he's a badass level designer at that. He was also my roommate in college, and he's been my best friend for about 9 going on 10 years. So without further ado, let's get into it. Get your notepad and pen, take down some knowledge. Hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, everybody. My name is Tyvik Stallworth, technical combat designer at Sucker Punch. And right next to me, I have one of my best friends, Jack Burrows. Joining us today. He is a badass level designer that worked at Treyarch for around 2 years. And then now his next journey is taking him to the 31st Union under the 2K umbrella to do some level design there. So without further ado, Jack, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, tell them, more about you, so they can just know what's up.
Yeah, man. Hi, everybody. My name is Jack. I'm a AAA level designer. I've had the distinguished privilege of getting to know Mr. Stallworth since we were in college at the Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia. I have played games my whole life and just sort of figured out at an early age that if I have to get up every day and do a job, it better be something that I love and something that I'm interested in, walking into a place and doing every day. So I chose games. Smart to get a job doing something related to what you love. So led me to college, met these guys, met some other really great people. And in 2017, after we graduated, I tried to get a lot of game design jobs. Didn't quite have the necessary technical skills. I had a lot of big ideas, but not necessarily all the nitty gritty to get some of the jobs that I was looking for. So I gave it pretty quick and just went for QA, which is an excellent place to start. And the more you get into the industry, the more it will blow your mind how many people at various levels across the industry started in QA as well. And it was an awesome grind. It was a little rough around the edges at times. It was brutal. 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts, but it was worth it. I started on Call of Duty World War II, working for Activision down in El Segundo in California. And then I moved. I realized I was far away from the action where games were actually being made. And so I moved into Treyarch in 2018, started QA on Black Ops 4. And then an internship opportunity came around. I made the right connections, secured it by the grace of God, landed it, and have done well at Treyarch. And then as Ty said, I just a few weeks ago decided it was time to move on. Bigger things, big changes. Just wanted to sort of stretch my wings a little bit, get a different flavor for the industry and what I can do. So it's an exciting time. Thanks for having me, Ty.
Glad you're here, my man. All right, so I want to start a new segment on my channel where I bring in game developers like Jack himself, where you can kind of get a dose of, what he went through. Like I have my experiences, but every single, game developer has a different path on trying to get into the industry. And that's something that you need to know. It's not so cut and dry. Everybody doesn't go to college. Some people don't go to college, and some people just get in off of the pure talent. So there are several different avenues to get in. And one path may not be the path that you're going to take to get in. So you do have options. So on this segment today, we're going to be going over things like, what do we wish we could tell our younger selves when we were in college, before we went to college, and what life was like after college and how college prepared us, or didn't, for what was to come and what our expectations were after getting that degree. Because I made a video that said that, hey, a college degree is not your golden ticket to get into the industry. You have to do more work on top of that to even be average in this industry. So we're going to break into kind of getting down to what inspires Jack, what his favorite games were growing up, and what actually sparked that early flame that led to his career now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. So I was like a 6-year-old kid, and a neighbor had PlayStation 1, and I played Crash Bandicoot. And I'd been into cartoons and stuff like that. Wasn't much of a reader, but games just swept me off my feet big time. Crash Bandicoot 3, Spyro the Dragon, Jack and Daxter, Crash Bash. Those are sort of my very first inklings, as well as Super Smash Bros. On the 64, Star Fox 64. It was all stuff my friends had. And then finally my parents gave me my own Game Boy Advance, and I got Metroid Fusion. And from there I was just, long hooked. I actually used to get in trouble for playing games at my neighbor's house. Because I wasn't allowed to play rated T games, so Ratchet and Clank, Jak 2, other stuff like that. And I would just sacrifice getting in trouble because I just wanted to play them. They were just those worlds were so captivating, so beautiful. And they were just fun. I would, walk away from playing it and just want to go and sit back right back down. So yeah, games have always been a huge part of my life. They've sort of stir up very deep emotions in me, and a lot of that sort of like childlike wonder I've tried hard to maintain over the course of my life. I think it's really good to have sort of heroes like that, or stories, myths and tales that just feed your soul, feed your heart and your mind and give you motivation. There's a lot to learn from things like that, those sorts of stories. And it's just healthy, I think, for your heart to sort of exercise in those sort of stratas of thought. It's good for your imagination, especially if you work in a creative field. So some of the games that I've sort of like whittled down to my top 5 would be Halo 2, Skyrim, Dead Space 1, BioShock, and Metroid Prime. And primarily they're sci-fi games for me, but those are probably my top 5 of all time that have really sort of swelled my passion and have kept me going over the years for sure. And it's fascinating, when you can land the job, and it's different when you're sort of doodling in a notebook for yourself and you've got big ideas and big dreams and stuff, versus you walk into a place every day and it is your job to creatively come up with interesting and fun designs for something. It's a totally different dynamic, and it will sort of ask of you a deeper sense of creativity and a more consistent sense of creativity than you may have ever expected that you would have to perform, which is really cool. And it's very humbling, but it's a good gig and I love what I do, and games are awesome. Period.
Yeah, they are. So Jack is up here visiting up in Washington right now, and we've had like a lot of game design talks, and just like getting to talk about game design with him, we just flow. It's so fun to talk about like different perspectives, different philosophies of game design with somebody as knowledgeable as himself. So it's been nothing but a good time having him around here recently. But let's get to like before college. How did you figure out like about SCAD and everything? How did you figure you wanted to go there? What was your push to move, to the other side of the nation in order to go to school for game design?
Yeah, so I'm from Pasadena, California, and SCAD is in Savannah, Georgia. And my grandmother took me to an college arts fair. Where a bunch of colleges set up tables and try to get you to go there. And I walked around and asked, essentially, like, is your game design program rooted only in computer science, or is it more design focused, creative wise? SCAD was the only table that made that distinction. And so I went there. I only applied to one school. That was it. I was one and done. Because I just knew in my bones, like, I suck at math. I sucked then, I suck now at math. So programming and that, just sort of the way people's brains work with coding and stuff, was never going to be my bread and butter. But SCAD offered a program that was robust and expensive. But it was from a design perspective, and a lot of our course curriculum was all focused on much more attainable sort of skills and traits and things that we were able to do without needing a very serious computer science degree. So I just played to my strengths, frankly. I was really honest with myself and with my family, and I was like, hey, I suck at this. I'm great at this. And this school is going to provide me an avenue to go do what I want and bolster my strengths without having to, drive myself insane. So that was sort of how I plotted my course, and it ended up well. It's been crazy having to pay for it all, but I wouldn't have the dream job without the debt. So I'm thankful for the debt.
That's true. That's very true. And then one thing to be aware of is that going to a game development school, that doesn't mean that you get to slide on all of the other curriculums that you take at any other college. We still took history, philosophy, drawing courses, and it was agony. I don't know about you, but I was just like, dog, I just want to make games.
Yeah, it was like pulling teeth big time, for sure. I mean, I met some awesome professors, great people. There was some really good stuff to it for sure. And, they're there to broaden your perspectives. And frankly, the one real golden gem is like, I didn't know I could do like pointillism art. I couldn't draw, couldn't paint for my life, but I took a color theory class our freshman year, and I've made some pretty like badass pieces of art, which is a great benefit that I didn't expect from otherwise, yes, what was agony. And that was the final project. So the whole semester sucked big time. I was miserable the whole time until that final project. But yeah, for the most part, you don't just do games right out of the gate, but it made it very satisfying when we did start to have like game design classes. We were making board games and, literally making presentations about our favorite games, why they were successful in the industry. Like, it paid off.
That's actually a good point to bring up with board games. we both took board game classes, and you're thinking like, why the hell do I have to make board games when I just want to do like digital games? And it has the same type of design philosophy behind it. And it actually helps you think about stuff in real world versus digital and how people interact with the game that you're making. So it was a lot of fun. Like me, myself, I made a card game and I made a board game with like a huge alligator on it, and you're playing as frogs. And based on what you draw is what type of actions you take. So it really makes you think about the whole process as a whole of like creating an experience for the person that's going to be playing it. It's the same for, any physical thing that you create not video game wise, but game wise. And then for the video game side, there's a lot of overlap between that. So if you're feeling up for it, like make a quick card game, make a board game, just write down on a paper or use like cutout papers or anything of the sort and just create something and put it together.
Yeah. It was like whenever we had an assignment, they gave us like a limited set of like game pieces, and you had to make an entire board game out of that. And they would give it to everyone in the class, and you couldn't just all make the same game. So like it was pretty mind blowing how difficult making board games was. And even making digital games too are extremely difficult, but like board games especially, I think my favorite part that came out of that was like making a rule sheet. Oh, yeah. And we had some friends that just made rules that were like, the Declaration of Independence. It was like 50 pages long. And I was like, this is horrible. This doesn't tell you anything. Like readability mattered. Anytime someone wanted a rule sheet that was idiot proof, they'd come to me. So. And they wouldn't work because I was like, this sucks. I don't understand anything this game's about, So they had to dumb it down till it was really accessible, which is a really good skill to be able to do. You have to trim the fat and just give the very core basic of your concept. And if that is compelling, if it's interesting and you make a game out of that, how accessible is the game? Not just in terms of like having actual handicaps, but like, the average minded person walking up to me like, can I understand this project or this game? Or is it so obscure that it needs like a 50-page document to understand it? So It was cool though.
Simplicity sells. If you make it too complex, nobody's going to be wanting to read through rules for 20 minutes before they can actually play your game.
Yeah.
There's some games can get away with it. Probably not yours. You don't have enough experience yet, but one day. So let's talk about our kind of like culture that we created within the friend group.
In college?
Yeah. So we had 4 of us in total, and we all roomed together. I met Jack, I think my second day in college, and we met through a mutual friend. And, this mutual friend had already brought him like 5 people. And he was like, Doc, another person? Like, whatever. What's your name? And I was like, hey, my name's Tyvik. He was like, okay, I'm Jack. Come on in. So,
and I said, do you play Smash?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played Smash.
Yeah, so we bonded over Smash Bros. And I was pretty good. He was good as well. And that's kind of how like our group bonded and everything. But it was about 4 of us that roomed together from sophomore to senior year. And iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Like every one of us like had passion to just go above and beyond rather than just stick to our course curriculum. So we were taking part in, game jams where you make a game in 48 hours over the weekend. And we had class on Monday. So, we're taking our full chunk of weekend to just grind and, not shower and miss meals and everything in order to get the game done. And, that was very fun. And then also on the side, like, Jack is learning like level design, game philosophy. He's ordering the books, he's reading, he's intaking all this knowledge. I'm learning scripting and figuring out how Unreal Engine 5 works and how Unity works. And we had, another programmer that was in our group as well, and he was learning C#, C++. And then there was another roommate of ours who was learning about like combat mechanics and, Blackboard and Unreal 5 and how to just like make prototype stuff. So we had a pretty good squad working with us.
Ambitious.
Very ambitious. And then later on in our like junior year, we met a really great 3D modeler who helped us out with, our games and everything. That became a great friend to us and, still a part of our friend group today. So we just met a lot of great people along the way. And then I'm going to say this, if you are in a group when you go to college that's not doing anything and they're doing the bare minimum, you need to find some new friends because we held each other accountable pretty damn well.
Oh, yeah.
Like we still had our fun and everything, but we wanted to outshine everybody in our class. So we made sure we put a schedule on ourselves in order to do that and always participate in game jams and, any type of knowledge intake. Like there's a lot of like developers that come to the studio, or not to the studio, but to the game design building, and they'll give talks. Like I remember Aaron Daly from The Last of Us. I'm working at Naughty Dog. He came to give a talk about the Factions multiplayer that came out during that time, and like
good.
We was playing that every damn night.
Every
day. That was like our religion for like 2 months straight.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what we did.
He signed our copies too, and I was like coddling the thing on the way back to our dorm. It was so just like surreal to meet the person that was so responsible for the entertainment that you were getting hour after hour after hour. It was awesome. Really exciting.
And then we actually took a picture with him.
Yeah.
And there was another guy there that was
he was some dude that worked on BioShock Infinite, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah. Such a good talk. But yeah, I remember taking a picture with Aaron Daly, and I told Jack after that, I was like, one day I'm gonna work at Naughty Dog. And my first job was at Naughty Dog, not in that position, but it was in QA. And then I worked myself up to the multiplayer designer position. And Aaron Daly reached out to me, and he was like, hey, we've seen what you've been doing. You've been helping us out a lot. Would you like to join the team? And at that moment, I was expecting that moment to happen like 5 years down the line, but it happened in 2.
That's the dream, baby.
And I was very fortunate to have that happen. And so that was like my break into the development side of the industry. And I couldn't have been any happier. And I learned a lot from that team, and especially from him, about how he handles things. So pay attention to your leaders and understand and know how they operate, so that you can take that knowledge, so that once you get to that position as well, you can do great.
Yeah, our friend group was awesome, man. We were very fortunate to have just very like-minded people that we met relatively quickly. And we had our own ups and downs, like anyone will, but they became really, really best friends. And school itself didn't teach us this, but if you only ever do the curriculum, you just won't succeed, at least not in games.
Please say that again.
Yeah, if you only do the course curriculum, you will not succeed, because you're going to look like everybody else. Like you can start in QA having just done that, but even then, QA is competitive these days. Activision recently had made a huge improvement on the quality of life for their QA people, and I was almost like crying about it, man, because I had been in those bins when it was really hard. Just long hours and long days and stuff. And it's the better people get treated, the more competitive those positions become, even for QA. We have a very close friend who's desperately trying to get into the industry, and just to find a QA gig these days is challenging. And at the end of the day, like, you just have to do more. So when we had friends that were willing to do the game jams, like, it was a blessing. It was a greater blessing than we had the eyes to see at the time. Because most developers will tell you, it's like the games that you make are your work experience. So you see jobs that want 2 years of experience, but you're fresh out of college. If you have made games for 2 years, then you have 2 years of game making experience. That's why your portfolio is so desperately important. And I'll tell you this too, because I was hiring interns for Treyarch. And I really, really didn't look at people's resume. It didn't matter where you'd been, where you'd come from, what you'd done. Especially, it's like your jobs just didn't matter in the past. What mattered is your portfolio. Because if you have worked game jobs before, your portfolio should demonstrate that. That should be front and center. And if you've made game jams, that should be on your portfolio. I wanted to see more than anything what people did in their free time. What ambition did you have to declare this as a dream, as a goal? And can you demonstrate it visually? I have to see that you want to make games and that you have made games. That is your work experience. And if you only do the course stuff, because imagine 4 people applied to the same job from your college, and everyone only has their course curriculum, and one person has a game jam, that person's going to stand out because they've done more than the other people around them. That's that's the brass tacks. That's the nature of it. So to have friends that were equally motivated to go and do that, to make the personal sacrifices, to face the discomforts together, it made all the difference in the world. I wouldn't even have gotten my internship if I hadn't had a relationship with a good friend that I met in one of our game design courses. It wasn't even a chick that I'd done projects with. Never done a game jam with her, but just a good connection I made while at college, and helped me get the job later down the road because I knew her personally. Made all the difference in the world for me. So good people, good friends. Don't get unmotivated. Keep the passion, keep the wonder, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So in other words, don't stay in your room the whole time.
Yeah.
Go to events that are outside of video games. Go to a drawing course. Go to the bars or something, and maybe you'll run into somebody there. somebody ran into us freshman year of college, and we was asking him, like, what's the best way to get materials for like making games? Like, how do you draw inspiration? And he was like, go do stuff. Like, go to the bar, go play basketball in the park, go for a walk, take care of a dog for a little bit. Like, get out there, experience people and the environment that surrounds you so you can use that to fuel your desire to work even more. And then you'll meet great people along the way. And who you know is your network. They don't have to be exactly in your industry in order for that network to have a benefit. So like they can invite you to like an event that you would never otherwise went to. And you might meet somebody there that might spring load your career to greater heights in a way that you don't really think about. So just be active with getting out of your room. Don't stay into your friend group too much, and just meet new people and be open to talking. And when you're in college, everybody is nervous to talk to somebody. You're in a new environment. You don't really know anybody. People are putting themselves out there in order to get to know other people. And that's difficult to do because you're making yourself vulnerable. Like, what if they hate me? What if, they say something about this? What if I say something wrong? Are they going to think I'm stupid? Just do it.
Yeah. Be yourself. Don't be an asshole. Don't be arrogant, for the love of God. You have to be really humble. Like, people will totally pick up on if you have a bad attitude about stuff or you just negative constantly about yourself or your life. It's like, be yourself, man. Like, be true to yourself. Be kind to yourself. This life is hard enough, let alone trying to get into these industries and these jobs. Like, and everyone else is wanting the same kind of thing. So just be kind to people, be friendly. Most everyone I've met in the industry, pretty almost across the board, has been excellent. Good company just to hang out with, So yeah, it's important.
Yeah. And make sure the people that you hang out with, if they rely on you, make sure you hold yourself accountable. There was one point in college where I promised somebody something that he needed for his course. And I was working on ZBrush at the time, and he wanted me to model something for him. And I tried to model it. The creativity just wasn't flowing. And then at the end, I couldn't deliver something that he needed for his college course. So even though it's been years since that happened, that still affects my day-to-day. Or not day-to-day, but it still affects me. And it still kind of like pops back up. And I guess it does affect my day-to-day because I never want to let anybody down like that again. So just make sure you're accountable with what you say that you're going to do. And it's okay to say no. If you're not up for it, it's okay to say no and not even give an explanation. If you're not comfortable with it, it's completely cool. And that goes for if people are asking to work with you, you can say no. If people ask you to go somewhere, you can say no. Like, that's completely fine.
Yeah, you definitely, especially in terms of like work. I mean, all making games completely, unless you're doing it alone, which is crazy difficult. Like, everything about it is collaborative. Mm-hmm. And if you're not honest with what you can do or can't do, then you're just gonna, torpedo projects at some point in the line, whether it's at the end or the beginning, where it's like, hey, I don't know how to do this. As long as you're forward and honest with that, and you have good people, then they'd be like, well, what can you do? And you have to learn how to sell yourself big time. Oh, yeah. You got to be resourceful. It's like, if you're the more honest you are with your own faults and your weaknesses, the easier you are to work with, because people, they're not going to be shocked when you say you can't, or when you end up not being able to do something because you were forward at the beginning saying, I have no idea how this works. I have no idea how to do this. I'm willing to try and learn, and at least when people have that precedence that they know, hey, at least this guy's trying to figure it out. I think for one of our game jams, I'd never touched Premiere Pro and I couldn't program. I could do very minimal level design in 48 hours. And obviously I was spitting ideas and stuff with everyone. There wasn't like a lot of writing to do. So we needed to make a trailer. Like, you had to deliver a trailer. And I literally learned how to use Audacity and Premiere Pro in 48 hours and made a trailer that, very much helped us secure the victory. So even though I wasn't actually programming game mechanics or, drawing the characters, like, I did something tangible as a team effort that helped, I was one of the pillars that helped us win in the end. Yeah, we got a big ass trophy. It was fantastic too.
Oh yeah.
They're one of the best memories of college by far. But that's the point, right? They knew in the beginning what I could or couldn't do. So there was no expectation like, man, we paired up with this guy. He's a loser. He has no idea what he's doing for this stuff. It was like, no, because they knew just from talking to me, and I sold myself to say like, there's boundaries and there's strengths and weaknesses in all of us. And we leveraged those and, took home the victory. So it's really important.
Very important. Knowing where you stand and where you need to grow allows you to be comfortable with what you can offer and what you can't. And if you have that desire to actually learn what you don't know, then you'll become a major threat. because a lot of people can't really do that. They see them not knowing something as a detriment. We're all learning out here. We've been in the industry for almost 5 years and we're still learning how to do things constantly. It never ends. And the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. And the day you stop growing is pretty much the day you stay stagnant. And if you're stagnant, then that, I don't know, for me, that feels like death, a slow one.
What's that Master Yi quote from League of Legends? The true master is the eternal student.
Write that down. To segue off of that, you talked about like knowing that you're able to do something and then knowing what you're not able to do. That's confidence right there. Be confident in what you can do and be passionate enough to learn the things that you don't know. And I was talking to my lead, Ted Fishman, at Sucker Punch one day, and he was like, one of the things that I really liked about your game design test when you applied is that there was passion, there was potential, and there was talent. Those are the three things that most recruiters look for when hiring people for a job. If you're not the best, is there potential? If there's potential, is there passion behind that to learn what's needed to be learned in order to do the job right? And if you show that you're confident in your abilities, then you're going to have more opportunities in the long run. Because even if you don't know, if you're not confident, I've been on the recruiting side. If you're not confident, why would I hire you? I want somebody that's confident enough in their abilities and humble enough to say, hey, I don't know this, but give me like 2 days and we're good. I'll look it up. I'll spend some extra time on it. And then I'll get you your answers. That's what we want to see.
There's a whole emotional game to that too, where, you can get really discouraged constantly if you're applying for things and they fall out from under you, or you just don't get them, right? And you're like, why am I not getting these jobs? And it's like, you have to have just a serious attitude of introspection. It's like the more honest you are with yourself and your expectations are set appropriately, like you can apply for senior level jobs coming out of college. And unless you're like a prodigy and you have some stupidly incredible portfolio, it's like, it's a waste of your time and your emotional energy to get upset when you don't get that job because your expectations were ridiculous. Like you have to, frankly, be pretty harsh and cut and dry with yourself. And I think there's a good dose of humility in there as well. And people respect when you build up to something. It's harder for people to respect you when you just walk into something. I mean, hell, even in the military, it's like how many, officers have a hard time leading their men that don't respect them because those officers weren't in the trenches with the guys from the beginning. And it just makes a difference in your own set of experiences. Like you just have to, the more practical you are, the more firmly you can plant your feet. And when your feet are planted firmly, then you can be confident because you're not working with parameters that don't make sense. Like, you have a firm understanding of where you're at, what you want, where you can go. And you're not going to get disappointed shooting for things that don't make sense for you to even apply for in the first place.
That's very true.
So being practical and honest with yourself it's huge.
Yeah, you only gain more respect by going through tougher challenges. So, and I think that's a big testament to like us both going through QA first. QA is seen as like the bottom of the totem pole, but it is the foundation of every game studio nowadays. Because if you don't have QA, your game is going to be a buggy mess. And QA are pretty much producers at a certain point in the production cycle.
Yeah.
So since we both went through that, we know how to look for bugs. We know how to address problems like quickly and rapidly. We know how to communicate because that's what you need to do when you're in QA in order to actually flourish. And QA can actually be a career path that people like get really invested into. And there's a lot of dynamics behind that. So don't ever feel ashamed for going into QA. It is not just game testing. You're doing so much more than that. Yeah. I still have memories of QA, and it's probably the best time that I've had in the industry so far because you're in the trenches with everybody else, just making sure the game is as stable as possible to put forth the best experience for the person on the other end once that game releases. So it's nothing but love and respect for everybody in QA, as well as the developers that actually treat QA like they're a part of the team. That's very important.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about the college experience. Is there anything that you would tell your past self to do better or different, or just simply don't do it all.
Yeah. It's hard looking back because the trials that you run into when you're just going through life blind, as we all do, in some sense or the other, because you can make all the plans you want and doesn't guarantee any of them will go through. I think at the time in the past, I would have more than anything sort of spells of questioning or like self-doubt. And I really didn't imagine that I would be where I am now, especially not through the path that I took. I didn't really understand what that path could lead, like going through QA, getting an internship, stuff like that. And there's just been so many blessings along the way. It's hard. I think more than anything, I would say, to myself at least, because we had a pretty good head on our shoulders. We weren't really like, some people struggle with certain things. Like I feel like I was pretty like straight with myself. Like I had good expectations for what I could or couldn't do. So when I wouldn't get game design jobs after I graduated, I wasn't like mind blown that I didn't get them, because I was always kind of shooting high because I just didn't have the technical skill set. So I was going to try and sell myself once I got in there, and sort of pick it up as I went. But more than anything, I think I'd say take heart, like just one day at a time. Each day has enough worries of its own. Keep the wonder, remind yourself of the passion for this career, because it's a very, very desperately fortunate career to be in. I look at a lot of other jobs that people do, and what turns me off, across the board, is the fact that many people wake up every day and they go and do something that does not have, not necessarily lasting repercussions or something, but it's like making games, you're making something new that's never happened before. And even in a franchise like Call of Duty, where I was making Call of Duty games like one after another, you still get to participate in creating an experience, that like you're making art and you're designing things that are coming out of your mind, and that's creative. And as long as there's human imagination, like games are only going to get crazier and more beautiful and more, vast and diverse. And when you're working with different people that are so talented, like it's incredible. So sometimes I would lose sight of that in college when I was worried about if I would make it. And you just have to know, like you can do so much these days, especially with just YouTube, since all the programs are free. Like I could have taught myself all manner of things if I had the discipline for it. I think more than anything, I'd say take heart, keep the passion, and get some discipline. Because the discipline that I, had to earn later was harder than had I used the time that I had at the time we were young and had a lot of downtime to do it. Not that we're not young now, but much younger then, 7 years younger. I'd say use your time wisely, get discipline. If it costs you everything you have, keep the passion, and take heart, because it'll work out if you stick to it. And even if you're walking a hard road, it can work out in the end.
And don't take too much agency in what your other friends think about you if they try to shame you for you having a vision on where you want to be. You're not going to be able to go to every single event, every single party, every single get together, every single hangout. You have to sacrifice that time to learn what you need to in order to get into the industry. And then you could have a good time after you're in, but you'll look back on those people that were partying and drinking and doing all of these things and wasting time, and then they're stuck, but you succeeded, all because you didn't allow yourself to be put down by whatever it is they thought that you should be doing. You had a path, you had a vision, you had a goal in mind. So make sure you keep that intact when going through college, especially, because temptation does happen. Shaming does happen. So if your friends are pushing you towards the wrong path, you need to find new friends immediately. It doesn't matter if they even try to shame you for walking away. Find people that's going to make you grow.
There's a good balance. There's a good balance of people being like, hey man, we just want to spend time with you, versus like, don't be an idiot. Don't be a loser. Like come out with us. Like there's a healthy way for people to encourage a friend that you want to spend time with them.
Exactly. And same goes on like your side. If you want to do something, but your friend's like, I can't do that, man. I have to study or I have to do this project. Wish them the best and then go have fun. It's going to be a time where the script is going to be flipped and you're going to be in their position to where you have to work and they want to go have fun. So just maintain the balance in that. Make sure you get your work done. And especially make sure you look up the curriculum that college is not teaching you. So for me, I'm pretty much a self-taught scripter and coder because college didn't really have those courses, or Savannah College of Art and Design didn't really have those courses intact when we were going through.
At the depth that you would have needed.
Yeah, so like very light level. We learned Unreal Engine 5 and blueprints.
4.
And yeah, Unreal Engine 5 is out right now. Unreal Engine 4, we learned that. So we have the blueprint, visual scripting, and that's great. And that's what was taught. But as far as like the C#, the C++, a lot of curriculums don't really get into that. And so make sure that if you do have an interest in that, you actually like dive into that pretty good on your own, because college can only teach you so much if you're not going through a dedicated computer science course. So if you do want to be more technical, it's probably better to go the computer science route and then learn the game design, elsewhere, because you're not going to get that teaching by being self-taught that you would in a university. So just keep that in mind.
What's next on there?
Let's see. What do we got next? Okay. So after college, I was out of a job for like a year for getting into the industry, and I suffered with that. But I want to hear about your story about after you got out of college. What was the hardest part on breaking in? How did you get your first QA job? And what did that look like? And what type of like emotional journey did you go through during that time?
Yeah, it was frustrating because obviously most people start applying out the gate before you even graduate, which is smart. You should apply for jobs before you graduate. We literally hired interns for Treyarch that were 2 weeks late to the internship because they were still graduating, but they got the job. I think the greatest beast first to be slain post-college is comparison. It's a horrible, horrible mental, emotional dragon that you just have to slay. Because especially if you have very good friends and friends that you could anticipate were going to be very successful, as mine were very quickly. I mean, I literally would force Ty not to tell me how much money some of our friends were making because I wasn't making any yet, especially with a daunting debt sort of looming on the wind over your head. And it was a lot. It took months to figure out this isn't a race. In no way. And most of life ever isn't, it's never a race. Like you never really have to compare yourself to other people, and it'll be the thief of joy every time. Mm-hmm. So it took a while to be patient, especially when you get rejection letters for jobs that you thought you were really, really close to. And I got very, very close into a lot of processes. And I was like, it can be disheartening momentarily, but you have to sort of bang your head and just keep going, apply for the next thing that's practical, the thing that you are confident you can do. The best thing in the world is when you look at a job application and in your heart, you're like, I can do every one of these things that is listing. Mm-hmm. And even if it says years of experience, it's like, I know how to work with people and I know how to do these things on this list. So that feels good. So look for jobs that can do that. But anyway, for me, it took some humbling. And I had some arrogance for sure, where I was like, I got this degree, I got this portfolio, I've already had internships, like I should get a job. And I wasn't. And I maybe applied to three or four. And I just, I got impatient with the notion of having to just keep applying for game design jobs. So I was like, I'm just going to start. I'm just going to go get my foot in the door. Call of Duty's big enough that they'll probably have room for someone like me. And I was, in my own head, it was like, this will be my way in. And so little did I know how brutal it was going to be. Initially, literally my first day was a 12-hour shift. The first day, it was insane. Oh, wow. I cried all the way home. It was an hour commute to and from work every day, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for 6 months straight. It was brutal. I once worked 17 days in a row, and I met one of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life, sat right next to me, totally established lifelong mentors in that first job, just in that first office in 6 months. So it's like, once I humbled myself, I was already so much closer to the goals that I had, and I had shitty attitudes too, because I was like, oh man, like I deserve to be paid more than $12.50 an hour for doing QA work, or like I got this degree, I should be paid more than this. And it's like you have to kill so many demons after you graduate, like so many just stupid ways of thinking, and just learn to not compare yourself to other people. Like you need to always be celebrating, especially your friends that are getting those jobs. Because if you burn those bridges, like those are people that someday could very well offer you a hand and be like, hey, we got a spot for someone. And I know you know what you're talking about. And I want you in on my team. And that, you don't know what kind of years of time you could save otherwise grinding on your own path because you had a good relationship with someone that believes in you. Like you got to believe in yourself too. But that just took a while to learn. So it was a grind for sure initially, but it was worth every drop of sweat, every minute in the car commuting. It was worth it all. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you definitely have to believe in yourself, especially with any type of like video game career, because it's not glamorized. You know, people want to be like big producers on movies and actors and everything. And those are the people that get all the fame and the glory and everything. And those are the people that people like to talk about. But when you talk about video games, it's seen as like nerdish, or, you know, you're a basement dweller where you don't see the light. And it's a stigma on this industry that just is not perceived well by people outside of the industry that don't know anything. So, for example, when I was, you know, planning to go to college, I would say, yeah, I want to be a game designer. I want to make video games. And people were like, oh yeah, really? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I got you. All right, cool. Challenge accepted. So, I stayed to myself, kept my vision intact, got into the industry, got into a job. And then at this point, I mean, I'm making more money than them. I mean, that's arrogant saying that, but hey, you didn't believe me. You doubted me. You wanted to, you know, put me down and everything. So it is kind of nice to be in the position where I'm like, okay, I'm successful in this career field when everybody else didn't understand my grind, my hustle, my passion for making video games. And so you're going to need that along the way so that you can just keep sanity for yourself.
Yeah, not that you want to beat people over the head with it, but it pays very well. And that was what helped me sort of convince my own parents, which, you know, once I showed them like this is a viable career, it's not like, you know, because they noticed when I was growing up playing, like I didn't want to just play for the sake of playing, but I always had like journals next to me. And then I would show them when I got older, like, hey, this is some of the figures that people can make doing this as a job. And it's like, you have to be patient with people sometimes in your life, you know, because they don't get it. People don't know. There's, like you said, there's all kinds of stigmas and stuff. And then, but once you start to show evidence, like, no, I'm actually happy doing this. It's sustainable. I've got good insurance. Like they pay me well. You know, it's a totally viable career, more than viable.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's better than most. So, do what you can, push hard and make it in, and you'll be happy you did.
Mm-hmm. And my statement wasn't making money the end all be all.
Yeah.
But people don't know how much money you can make with it. Like Jack was mentioning, it's a very lucrative career that at your prime can go well above like 200K, depending on where you end up at per year. But do it for the passion. You really need to love it because listen to this. If you love playing video games, that is not the same as love for creating them. If you love playing video games, it is not the same as creating them. At the end of the day, it is still work. It is still hardships, stress, days that you just don't want to go to work, times where you just want to step away for a month and just be like, video games, leave me alone. It's still work at the end of the day. So if you're not passionate about it, or you're not putting in the work to find out which area you're passionate about in the video game space, you're going to burn out quick. I think I've heard that people usually burn out from the industry at around like the 4 or 5 year mark.
Yeah, it's such a waste.
Because it's tough. It's hard. Technology is advancing every single year. Things become more high fidelity. Code becomes more complex. Marketing becomes grander. It is a whole operation that is backed by billions of dollars. And it's just becoming a huge beast of its own in every single department. So you have to make sure that you really love it because it is a whole ecosystem on its own that you have to engross yourself in, and you have to love it for what it is. And if you have to force yourself to do your task in college and you don't have fun with it, you may need to sit down, go back to the drawing board, see which area you need to try out next. And if you just do not love it, then it's going to be really hard to succeed in this career field. So please make sure you have at least somewhat of a passion for it, whatever it is.
Depends on how you define success as well, you know, because there's people that success to them is just having a day job. And if it happens to be games, that might be fortunate for them as well. Mm-hmm. But I think ultimately, if you don't have passion for it, your work, the true quality of your work will suffer if it doesn't have heart in it. Mm-hmm. You know, like you can have all the skills and talents of your mind and stuff, but if you don't really pour your heart into what you love. And in no way is it saying that I do that perpetually. Like I've gone months at a time where my heart was far, far from being in my daily work, which is deeply frustrating. And you have to like navigate that and figure out like what's wrong with me, like, creatively, like why can't I, why aren't I delivering at the quality that I want to? Because you can go and play games that'll feed your heart and feed your passion. And while you're playing these things that you love, you're like, I know I'm not producing the same caliber of the stuff that I'm enjoying right now. And that's a challenge. And you have to sort of figure out how to navigate that at your own pace, at your own leisure, because it happens. So sometimes success can change, for yourself. It's not always just getting to that one ultimate point. Sometimes it's, you're successful just because you have a good job that you can do day to day and you're doing it. Even if it's not at the highest quality, like, how you define success can change. But yeah, like I think at the height of our passion, the best stuff is made when you're like, I'm making a world, I'm making things that people have never seen before, like that should be like the foundation. Ideally, that's what you want to maintain that. And it takes work to maintain it.
Have you reached it? And what do you think about dream jobs in general, as far as something to strive for when you're in college?
Yeah, I think they exist. Absolutely. I mean, I've always had one. I think it's important. I think it's good. I think in your life, it's good to have things to look forward to, but also things to work forward to. Mm-hmm. And it's, so much of it is about the journey, not just the destination. I mean, it was like a guiding, comfortable principle my whole life. I mean, it was a blessing and a curse, tremendously so, because at a very young age, I was like, somebody's got to be making these games. And, one Google search and, of research, and you realize like there's an entire industry of careers of people doing this stuff and so many disciplines within it. So it's like, not only are video games as a whole a thing that I love, but there's so many different angles in which I can choose to participate in the creation of those things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it was fertile ground for a dream job. So I was like, what's my favorite part about making these games? It's like, well, I love dreaming up what the player can do. What do they interact with? How does the world communicate to them? Stuff like that, and mechanics and story and dialogue and characters and stuff. And so yeah, I just dreamed up that I want to be a designer. I want to make these things. I want to be part of the creative process. And the simple logic of it is like, somebody's making those jobs. I want to work in them. That's a long-term off goal because I'm still young and I have to go through college and high school and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's a fantastic goal. And people tell me constantly, like, you don't know how lucky you are to just know definitively what you want to do. Because how many people go through college with no firm sense of like, what am I going to do every day? And to me, I struggled to have empathy for it because I was like, why don't you just do something related to what you love? So nowadays I just ask people, what do you love? When I ask them what they do and they say, or I ask like, what do you want to do? And they say, I don't know. It's like, well, what do you love? Well, I loved games. And so I just hit that dartboard far off and away. I was like, that's my goal. That's my target. Mm-hmm. And then I just plotted a trajectory there. But I think it's twofold because there's a danger in having a dream job in that when you get there, and imposter syndrome is another beast to slay, where you finally get there and you start to question yourself and you have self-doubts and you wonder, I'm actually in the job that I've sought after this whole time. Am I actually qualified to do this every day? Am I good enough to be here among these people to do this job? Am I good enough to own these responsibilities? And you'll be pretty honest with yourself pretty quick. Like life will hit you pretty hard and fast, and which is fantastic. But more importantly than anything, there's a sense of when you get to the top of the mountain, there's nothing there, and you have to sort of do some real work to realize that goal was not ultimate. That it, no one singular goal can be ultimate for your whole life. And I felt that when I finally got the job, and I was maybe 3 weeks in, and I was like, why do I feel hollow inside? Why does this feel flat a little bit? Where is the euphoria of having finally gotten the job? I'm there, I'm doing it, I'm here now. And I think there's a deep wisdom in getting to the top of the mountain and then taking a breath, appreciating the beauty of the view that you've reached getting there and all the luxuries that entail having gotten there. And then it's extremely necessary and healthy to then glance around, see the next mountain peak and say, all right, that's where I'm going next. You don't want to just settle. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there's not, or I guess, how would you define a dream job? for yourself?
An attainable, far off career goal.
Okay. Gotcha. Because from like saying what you said about like there is like no ultimate goal that you're just gonna get to and be happy. I've had the dream job of, working on a multiplayer team at Naughty Dog, and I got there and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the end all be all. Like it didn't like make me happy.
Yeah.
For like eternity. I didn't get this euphoria that was just gonna streamline my life from that moment forward.
Yeah.
So like what you were saying about, don't make one point in your life like
the ultimate
your worth.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's like very valid advice to give somebody.
Yeah, I can expand on that too a bit. There's a fantastic sermon that I heard not too long ago by Tim Keller. He's a pastor in New York, and he was talking about how the things in your life are like bridges, your relationships, and they have a weight load. You ever seen bridges where they have like a set amount of weight that they can sustain before they crumble? Mm-hmm. And the things in your life that you need to fulfill, your heart, your soul, your mind, like those things need to be, they have desires. And those desires have weight. And if you try to put that weight on a single bridge altogether, the bridge will collapse and you will break that thing which you are trying to put it on. Mm-hmm. So your spouse is not the sole bearer of your entire soul, mind, heart, and body, imagination. Like that one person cannot bear that load, or your career cannot bear that load. There's just certain things where you can't put all your eggs in that basket. And I did that a little bit with my dream job. It's like an 18-year-long journey to get to this job, and you finally land it. And there's a pastor that I love named Ravi Zacharias, and he would say that the loneliest moment in life is when that which you thought would deliver the ultimate lets you down. Because you build up this empire of expectations, like this is the pinnacle and nothing beyond it. And you get there and it's just, you're there and the view is beautiful, but it cannot bear the whole load of your heart, soul, and mind. And so you have to do some real personal work to recognize that and just learn that even if you make the successful jump to a career in video games, right? Like you did it. It's like, you got to work. Yeah. You still have to go to work every week. You have to, get up, take care of yourself, take care of your family, the people in your life, maintain relationships, like maintain your own health. It's life, man. It's not a single point. It's a whole journey. And it's very important to have had that dream job, because that makes life very thrilling. It makes it very fun. It gives you a goal to get up in the morning every day and get there. And I think the wisdom that I would give is that once you get there, and you have all these new tools, you don't stop there, because now you can do so much more. And you see the next mountain peak and you take all those things that you can do now on that journey. And once you get to that peak, you'll have all these new sets of tools and abilities and opportunities. It's like you keep going so that you can do more. Always. You can create more. You can make things bigger. You have more say over what happens. You can create larger the further you go. And we're never meant to settle for a simple point and just, you're not a drone. You don't just wake up every day and do the same thing like that. Your life needs more. You have to have that kind of sustained, things that switch it up, a goal to strive for constantly, things to look forward to. You have to have stuff like that. So even if you secure the dream job, that's why I say attainable, because it is something that you should be able to get, not just a pipe dream that lasts forever, but to get that and then make another one. You can have more than one in your life. And I think that's really important. So that's what I'd say.
Yeah, that's powerful. So I guess in essence, you would say that a dream job is a platform or foundation for the next point in your life.
Yes. Once you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a trajectory. You're making a course, you're plotting a trip. Mm-hmm. You're saying, I'm going to start here. Here's where I am. This is what I've got on this trail. Here's what I'm going to try and pick up along the way. And then when I get there, by God, then I'll do it again. Then I'll plot another course. And that's not futile. That's not hollow. Like that's a good way to live, I think, firmly, because you get there and you have so much more you can do once you're there. And then you just keep going. You have more influence over people. in a good way if you use it well. The higher up you get, the more creative power you have, then that lets you have that much more say over what people are experiencing. You can bring that much deeper joy if you have big ideas like that to people to say, hey, I want to make this stupidly beautiful place, this stupidly beautiful world that'll blow people's minds off. And I can only do that if I get to this point. Well, then set a trajectory to get to that point and then create the things that people now get to enjoy because you got there, and you can do that again and time and again. And that's using the resources, that's using the experience. Like, that's what it's all about, man. It's good to settle at some point and be like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I've succeeded, and then I would recommend paying it forward. The last thing I wanted to do before I left Treyarch, just for the sake of my own creative ambitions and stuff, wanting to do different things, was like, I wanted to train interns. I wanted to give to someone what was given to me. And I hired 2 fantastic interns. I was deeply privileged to work with them and to teach them and to train them. And, by God, someday they might do the same thing and pay it forward back to someone else too. So, and it's a joy, like that's a deep, rich joy, because now I get to go and create new things, but I also gave back to someone because I got to that dream job and then I could give somebody else that dream job. And that felt fantastic. That's a euphoria, and it feels awesome, and it doesn't stop there. So,
yeah, he was the man who actually helped me get the Naughty Dog job because he knew a contact at Naughty Dog that helped me get in. So this man started it all for me in my career growth. So this man's full of wisdom. So make sure you pay attention to what he's saying.
That's right.
Now, do you have any final remarks before we close it here? Anything you want to tell anybody?
Man, it's hard to try and narrow it down. It's amazing how much you can think that you've reached like a threshold or like a dead end, and how much more life outside of just making games affects the way that you make games, the way you think about them, the way you think about your career in this field, so much so. I think just being faithful, just taking the time to be grateful for what you have along the way. Because there's people that are doing jobs every day that they hate. And I think if you work in games, it's very important to have very deep gratitude that you're making games for a living. It's pretty, unbelievable and very fortunate. And I think it's important to continue to play. I think maintaining that childlike wonder that you had when you first played games and being able to give that to someone else. Like, I dream of that, of making something someday that someone will pick up. And because of the ideas and the labors that I put into that product, some little kid somewhere has like a starry-eyed dream now to go and make the same kind of things that I made for them to play, and for that cycle to never stop. So, I would say be grateful for even wanting to work in games, for having the talents and the tools to get the kind of jobs that we do. It's a good time. It's fun. Make sure you play Dead Space, BioShock, Halo 2, Skyrim, and Metroid Prime.
Classics.
You'll be better for it. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Loved having you here.
Thanks, man.
He's like a brother to me. Known him for 10 years. Best friend. So it's always good to kind of relink up and touch base every once in a while. All right, so that's the end of it. Let us know if you like this type of content, and I'll keep on making it. I think it is very important for us to get an insight on how other people got into the industry and their thought processes on things. So before you leave us today, remember to like, subscribe, and then comment below. A good networking experience for you to be in the comments, mingling amongst like-minded people. So that is it. Thanks for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the show.
Thanks, guys.